Well, good afternoon, Amber. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Good to see you. It's been a very interesting couple of weeks, hasn't it?
For sure.
So I'm just going to kind of dive right into some of the topics that I want to share with you today. There's well, affordability, it's not really new. Affordability has been a big issue so far this year, and it will continue to be the whole year. And it's not just for, the buyers who are struggling to get their offers accepted, but we also are looking at the builder side too. Builders, there's so much pressure on what builders can do between the supply chain shortages, labor shortages. We had, the fires and the beetles and then the cold weather. So we know that there's a lot of things happening that are impacting the buyers. And that's why, if you're seeing those headlines that say, oh, builders are slowing down, or they're not producing as much. Well, they've got a lot of headwinds that they're up against. And, just the cost of lumber alone has skyrocketed like 200%. So right now there's about a $24,000 increase in per new home on average that is being pushed to the buyers, that is just because of the supply shortages and all these challenges that these builders are up against. So when you see some of these headlines of, builder sales are down, it's not for lack of demand. It's literally that the builders are doing the best they can, but they've got some significant headwinds that they're up against. And there's, kind of moving away from that and talking about some of the news. There's so much just happening in the news right now. Offerpad just went public, going through, former Zillow CEO Spencer Rascoff created a SPAC. So he's taking Offerpad public. It's just very interesting that since Rascoff left Zillow, Rich Barton, who was a co-founder of Zillow, he's the new CEO. He's just been pouring all of their effort into Zillow Homes, Zillow's iBuyer. So it's going to be very interesting to see as that emerges more into, a big time competitor, because it's going to give Offerpad, equity position of $3 billion and probably a cash infusion of up to $650 million. So, with that kind of dollars, you can do a lot for advertising. Some of the interesting things that's going on, it's the PRO Act. Now, this is currently being negotiated in Congress, and President Biden did say that he was going to go ahead and sign it when they come up with, how they want it to look. And what the PRO Act is it basically impacts independent contractor status. And this is where it's a really big deal, because it's impacting the 27 right to work states, including Arizona. So when you think about that, what it means is if the independent contractor status goes away, that means all realtors and I know for a lot of loan officers are W-2 employees already, right, Amber?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I am too in title, but I can, in real estate, a lot of the realtors are independent contractors. So if the realtors do not have an LLC or a PLLC in place, then they would have to move into an employee status. And so we'll see how that works out, but it's could very significantly impact the market. And, it's just interesting as the timing, because we're seeing so many of these big real estate disruptors coming in, and they're doing, following Redfin's suit of employee agents. Zillow's got employee agents, Open Door has employee agents, Homey just announced they're hiring 1,000 more buyers agents across the country. So this is something that we're watching closely, and we'll see what happens. And, whatever happens, we'll figure it out. I know our industry has been it's pivoted a lot lately. And, it's one of those things that I think that there'll be a solution that'll be figured out based on what the rules, kind of what happens. The last thing I want to talk about just briefly is, our inventory, our local inventory, and nationally, it actually in both areas, it stopped dropping. And this could be for several reasons, but the best one we have is this could be maybe our first steps back into being back into a seasonal market. Typically in the spring is when we do have the most listings come to market. No, we don't have a huge surge of listings, but we stopped dropping, and we've been dropping for a year. So this is a big deal just in and of itself. We have 10 more listings than we had a month ago. That's not a huge number, but that means just, it's going to get hopefully a little bit easier on these buyers. Now for the sellers, you may not notice it. You may be getting 10 offers instead of 50 offers, but you're still in a multiple offer situation. Prices are continuing to go up. So just because demand is dropping and it's dropping faster than inventory, it doesn't mean we're having a crash. It doesn't mean prices are dropping, because what's, quite frankly, our demand is still 14% above normal while our supply is 78% below normal. So when you have that, it's going to slow the appreciation, but continue positive appreciation, which, that's good for our sellers, but it's also good for our buyers to not have a 20% appreciation rate, because that's just brutal. That's where the affordability challenges we're talking about earlier continue to be an issue. And I know, the mortgage interest rates have gone up, and so that could definitely be impacting some of the buyers. And I know, Amber, your kind of experience with it as well, like we were just talking about it. A lot of the buyers are still, hey, I'm hanging in there. I want to buy that house, even if the rates have gone up. So Amber, tell us kind of what you're seeing with that.
Yeah, I mean, interest rates have gone up. And the good news of, at least as of right now today, is that the 10-year Treasury bond yield did not go up today from Friday. So Friday was the high, which is a sign that maybe we could start to see some stabilization in interest rates, because essentially for, since the beginning of February, they've been going up consistently. And so what that's done is affected the affordability for some of our buyers. And so as an agent, as whether you're a listing agent or a buyer's agent, what I recommend is that you're double checking before you're writing an offer or accepting an offer, that client has been, re-qualified or has been recently qualified with today's interest rates, and not the interest rates of, 2020 or even in like January of this year, because that could affect their ability to buy. And the last thing you want, obviously, is to have a buyer beat out 15 other offers only to find out that they needed the 2.75% interest rate and not the 3.5% interest rate in order to qualify. So I would just make sure you're doing your due diligence, talking to the lenders about that. We're in the process of going through all of our pre-approved clients and just updating numbers to make sure that not only do they still qualify, but do they know what their payment is going to be? Because the other thing that happens is they go under contract at the $350,000 price, and now they realize that their payment is $75 or $100 higher, and they don't want it anymore because it's outside of their budget. And that we just don't want that stuff to happen. So make sure there's lots of communication going on in regards to interest rates, your pre-qualification letters, and the buyers understanding what their true payment is in today's interest rate market.
That's huge.
Yes, very huge.
It's all about the education, right?
Yeah, and just the communication. And yeah, it's hard to go back through all the people that you've qualified and make sure to get all of their information updated, but it's critical in a time like this where we've seen interest rates rise like we have.
Definitely.
Yep.
Definitely. And and so Amber, we were also talking about, and there's so much just conversation out there of what's going on with Fannie and Freddie and their portfolio limits on a 7% for second homes. What does that mean?
Yes. Yes. So the only thing constant in lending is change, and I expect a lot of it this year. So last week they announced that, or I guess it was the week before, but they announced that they're going to cap 7% of the loans that they will purchase from a specific lender on second homes and investment properties. And so if a lender is originating more than 7% of their portfolio in those two categories, they're likely going to have to start selling those loans to private investors or to places that are going to charge a higher price. And so likely there's going to be a premium now on the second home and investment properties. Now, what Guild did in response to this is we did raise our interest rates on refinances of second homes and investment properties. So those instantly went up about 0.25% upon the news. But I do think that depending on how this all gets digested, that there could be a rise in interest rates on purchase loans as well, just depending on the individual lender's portfolio of how much they are originating and where else they can find to sell those loans off to and what the cost of that is going to be. So big changes in regards to that, and lots of question marks about why are they making this change? And some people are saying, well, because they want to make it easier for primary residence clients to be able to get a property under contract, but it could also be because they have some concern of, just what's going to happen down the road with interest rates and, deferments and jobs and everything. And the first homes to go that people say, I can't do this anymore, are second homes and investment properties. And so those are the riskier of all of the occupancy types that they can lend on. So big changes in regards to that, not affecting purchase business though right now, just refinances.
So that helps a lot. Then I have another question with that. So say, the interest rates go up a little bit on the purchases, because you said you're finding other lenders, they're just not the GSE kind of lenders to buy. Is that hard to find other lenders, or is it when you have a higher interest rate, like it's not, I guess what I'm asking is, say you still have these borrowers that want to buy a second home, will you still have options, or it's not going to end the options? It's just going to say you got to figure other things out maybe at that higher rate. Okay.
Yeah. You're just going to have to pay more because you're going to be going to more of like a private investor as opposed to like Fannie and Freddie. And anytime you're going into more of like a private sector like that, the costs are going to be higher. I know that Guild has been working on finding private sources for a while now, just anticipating changes coming with Fannie and Freddie. So I think that we'll find some outlets of where we can sell them when we do break over that 7% threshold. And Arizona is a pretty heavy second home market,
Really
and
is.
so it's something that we will continue to update you on as more information comes out and as this gets digested. I know that, Guild and a lot of other lenders are already, going to the policymakers in Washington, D.C. to fight this and see what they can do to have this be changed. But for now, that's what we're dealing with.
That makes sense. I think that I like it that you're kind of looking at it and just addressing it as the info comes. So Thank you. And thanks for clarifying a lot of that, because I've had a lot of questions on it.
Yes, my pleasure.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, is there anything else in the world of lending that is also changing you want to share?
I don't think so. Those are the two biggies for now. I'm sure there'll be more next week though.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, then I look forward to talking to you again next week.
You too. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Amber.
Bye.